Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another comically long review. Last time, Tommy's son JJ went missing, and Tommy went looking for him along with his SPD cadet friend Anara. Tommy holds a Master Morpher that can cycle through each of his powers, but he's stuck using each of those powers one last time. Tommy had finally found JJ, shifting into Turbo to do so. Let's take a look at Soul of the Dragon, Part 2. Yes, indeed, Tommy has morphed into the Turbo Red Ranger, saying this all stops now. JJ quietly says, "Damn it," and Maurice tells his forces to take him. What is with all the bad guys in this thing saying take him? JJ just said, "Damn it." You can say kill him. Of course, even alien gangsters that might be robots aren't a match for a Power Ranger. One walks up behind Tommy and he's not really in any danger, but Anara blasts the thing. He starts to say that he told her to stay behind him. But hey Tommy, she is behind you! JJ attacks Tommy saying,
"You shouldn't come here."
Tommy tells JJ that he doesn't have to do this, and Maurice realizes that JJ knows these people. He says he used to know them, but they've been holding him back for a long time. Tommy's powers start to fade in a very narratively convenient way that exposes his face as he gets face to face with JJ, telling him that they can help with whatever they have on him just to remember who he is. He says that he remembers, and blasts his father right in the face, running away. The blast has the building that was being built now getting very quickly unbuilt. The bad guys run away, but JJ turns back and looks at his dad, struggling to get back up. Tommy knocks out, but wakes up a few minutes later. Anara finds him, telling him they have to go before the building collapses. His foot is stuck, and it really is too late anyway, so he reforms his helmet and covers her as it falls around them. The two crawl from the rubble okay, though Tommy was demorphed, so the turbo powers are done with. Suddenly, Tommy screams in pain, grabbing his back. The servos are acting up again, and Anara says she'll look at it. As she works on his back, he says that when he pinned JJ, he saw that his son recognized him. Anara thinks that's a good thing, but Tommy says it's not. He explains that as a young man, he was brainwashed by dark magic and tried to kill his future friends. He never hesitated, once. The fact that JJ hesitated means he is in control of his mind, meaning he's doing this of his own free will. He berates himself, feeling he missed something. Heck, he apparently told Anara more about this than his own father. She adjusts the coil, alleviating Tommy's pain. So the structure of these 4 panels is a little hard to follow. The general message comes across no matter what, but it works if you go upper left, upper right, lower right, or upper left, lower right, lower right. Though in that case, it's unclear what Tommy is saying what to. Anyway, Anara tells him that it's been hard for JJ to grow up in the shadow of Tommy Oliver, and she understands the fear of disappointing a parent all too well. That dad she mentioned, he worked on morphers for SPD and wanted to be a ranger. He couldn't, so he tried to inspire Anara to be a ranger. So yes, let's just state this outright. Anara is Boom's daughter. Based on how she looks, I still say that she's half Aquatian. Half Aquatian, half human. I guess she doesn't need to absorb water every so often, but maybe just make really sure that she stays hydrated? It's awesome that Boom has a daughter, especially one as cool as Anara. So why do I sound hesitant about being really psyched about this? What did I ask you to remember that she said earlier? Anara said that her dad isn't around anymore. So yeah, we meet Boom's daughter and she's cool, and the implication is that Boom is dead. I mean, I suppose not around anymore could have also mean that he left her, but that's really not in character for him. The bottom right panel delivers her point, which is fitting because either way you go, it should be the last one. Parents impact their children even if they don't mean to. But feeling bad about things is not going to help JJ, so they should get back to action. She found the crystal JJ crushed to morph and figured that that can lead them somewhere. Tommy looks over it curiously. Tommy and Anara visit an apartment. Anara, surprised the person inside would agree to see Tommy after their history. But he says their history is exactly why he's willing. Inside is Finster, who invites them in. Finster's apartment is filled with beautiful sculptures, and he explains that when he was purified by Zordon's energy wave, he was able to turn his talents to truly fine art. So it's never been exactly clear exactly how the Z-Wave worked, but one thing that I think was generally accepted as understood is that any creature that had been humanoid was purified and transformed back to that humanoid form, while those that had been monsters from the beginning were simply turned into sand. Finster here kind of flies in the face of that, purified but not transformed. Maybe that's because he was an alien instead of a monster? I don't know. Finster asks what brings Tommy by, and he shows Finster the crystal. Finster immediately recognizes that it's magical and refuses. He has not touched magic since the Z-Wave. Tommy understands, but explains that his son is in trouble, and this crystal is their only clue. Finster agrees, examining the crystal. He uses a simple tracking spell to find where the one who held the crystal is, Paston's Tower. He also points out that the energy of the crystal is familiar, dark magic. Magic he hasn't seen since, well, you know. Tommy had the same thought, hence coming to Finster in the first place. When he points out that the head honcho is calling themselves the Witch, Finster is dismayed. Anara pieces it together easily enough. They think that the one they're dealing with is Rita Repulsa. She says the Z-Wave should have purified Rita, and Finster says it did, but it's been many years, and hey, just because you washed a shirt doesn't mean it can't get dirty again, right? Whomever this is, Tommy shouldn't deal with this kind of magic unequipped. Finster basically gives Tommy a magical EMP that will shut down any magic casting for several minutes. Tommy thanks him, and you know, it was weirdly nice to see these two as such good friends in this timeline as well. The two reach the tower, and Anara asks what the plan is, since there's a ton of guards, and Zordon knows what else. Tommy muses, and she asks what's up. The next power set on the Master Morpher is Zeo. Tommy remembers Zordon saying the Zeo crystal is a perpetual energy generator, always growing stronger. So, how long has Tommy had the Zeo coin? 20 years. So yeah, as Anara realizes, he can basically just bust the front door down. And bust through the front door, he does. JJ sees Anara and says
You shouldn't come here.
She insists they only want to help, and as Tommy beats Maurice around, he realizes that they really don't understand what's going on. JJ is undercover. JJ quit SPD to keep his cover, to get in as deep as he could. When he'd learned all he could and something big was set up, he was going to contact SPD to arrange a sting. But now that's all out the window. JJ says he told them to stay away, but Tommy says he attacked him. JJ says of course he did. Tommy threw a man through a wall. Besides, isn't this exactly what Tommy would have done back in the day? This is when the witch approaches, delighted at the chance to use both the great Tommy Oliver and his son. Tommy doesn't know how Rita is back, but threatens to use Finster's magic EMP. She insists that it won't have any effect on her and calls Tommy the dull one. JJ points out that the witch is not Rita Repulsa. Instead, it's Scorpina. That's not a huge reveal to Anara, and she sets the EMP off anyway, believing there's gotta be something magical about her. Tommy tries to get everyone out, but Scorpina appears behind Tommy, hitting him in the back. Anara and JJ take their shots, but she kicks JJ. Scorpina says that Finster's EMP might have worked on someone as weak as Rita, but she's far too strong for it now. She takes a shot, but JJ tackles her, moving it off the mark. Anara and Tommy get knocked out a window. Tommy grabs Anara and warns her that this will hurt as they fall through a building. Scorpina tells JJ he should be proud. His move was a very fine last act. Her master will be pleased. She teleports him away. Tommy wakes Anara up and they are both fine. The Zeo powers cushion their fall with what they had left. Tommy's already combed the place, finding Scorpina and JJ long gone. He plans to go see Finster again to see what else he can do, offering Anara the chance to stay there, but she won't. The two find Finster's apartment ransacked, and Finster is dead. Tommy realizes they told Scorpina Finster helped them, and she came to tie up the loose end. Suddenly, Tommy realizes that there's a statue that wasn't there before. The statue then comes to life. Finster's final act was creating a clay version of himself that he then brought to life. Without a Monstermatic in sight, imagine that. Maybe it's a cell phone app now. Anyway, the creation can't stay alive for long. Tommy apologizes, but Finster knew that the past would eventually come back to haunt him. Finster made the statue to give Tommy the last information he could find. He did more research after Tommy left. The crystal was far beyond Rita's power. The only being powerful enough to make them is Lokar, who you might remember as that big giant blue spiky screamy head thing from the TV show. Finster contacted friends in the dark magic circles and learned that Scorpina just promised Lokar a sacrificial tribute, Tommy Oliver's son, to get massive power in return. Finster doesn't know where the sacrifice will take place, but the important part is that linking Talos and Earth is very difficult, so the sacrifice can only take place within a few minutes of that happening. He apologizes for all he did as part of Rita's forces and is so pleased Tommy has risen above it all and made such a good life for himself. He then crumbles into dust, the fate he escaped from the Z-Wave. Anara asks what they should do now, but Tommy needs to take a moment. Tommy looks at a picture of the MMPR on a shelf. Not sure why Finster has this picture. There are no indications that he's in it. Anyway, Tommy wonders why he felt he could even do this, and that he's made everything worse. He feels like he forced JJ to do something so dangerous as a way to live up to his legacy. Anara tells him off. They all have relationships they wish they'd handled better, but what matters is the now. They can still save JJ. Suddenly, Tommy gets a signal on his phone and can't believe it. On a big cliff bluff somewhere, over there somewhere, JJ plays a classic card, getting the villain to monologue. He asks what happened to Scorpina. How did she go from Rita's fearsome warrior to serving some giant head in another dimension? She doesn't want to give him the answers, but hey, she's gonna kill him anyway, right? And this works because it always does. During the time Tommy was a ranger, Scorpina felt unfulfilled. She knew she could do more and wanted more power. She snuck into a library to steal some of Rita's spellbooks. However, Rita and Goldar find her. Scorpina says she was set up, but I have a little bit of an issue there. The implication here is that it was Goldar that set her up, tattling to Rita, right? Goldar would never do that. I do realize that Goldar and Scorpina are not Grifazar and Lammy, I believe her name was, from Jew Ranger. They are not their Sentai characters. However, Goldar still showed affection to Scorpina, and I don't think it's a stretch to say that those two characters were in love. This is not something that Goldar would do. I would have much rather seen Goldar oppose this in some way, or at the very least, not be directly involved. Anyway, it was one strike and she's out, as Rita instantly banished her to the Talos dimension and Lokar. Scorpina spent, she says, years attempting to bargain with him, but she had nothing to offer him. That is, until the Z-Wave. The Z-Wave eliminated all of Lokar's allies in that dimension. Interestingly, even Scorpina could see the positive in this. Rita and Zed were free, no longer beholden to evil. She was hidden in a different dimension and unaffected, so she didn't even get that freedom. So she offered herself fully to Lokar to be his agent on Earth. He sent her back to the main dimension with some caveats. Dimensional travel is also complicated, so Scorpina got back to her dimension decades after she'd left it. She brought with her the crystals that could create twisted versions of the Earth's most treasured guardians, and started building a power base, empowering competing gangs so Lokar could feed on the chaos like he was Galactus or something. Now she has a proper sacrifice for him, JJ, and he has accepted it. If she completes this, her trial run is over and she will get more power than Rita ever had. This is her chance to change her fate.
If you had the chance to change your fate, would you?
Then Tommy just shows up as the White Ranger. No teleport, no shiny lights, just, "Hi, Tommy." JJ says, "Finally, that monologue was getting long."
You sly dog! You got me monologuing! I can't believe it.
Say what you will about Rita, she'd probably have been smart enough to search JJ. She's not scared of an old man who has shown up alone yet again. But he's not alone. He's got help. The Blue Centurion, the Shadow Ranger, SPD Red Ranger, I think, maybe Fire Squad armor, some other cadets, and a dude that straight up looks like the Doomslayer. The two forces fly at each other, the battle beginning as Scorpina promises she won't be stopped. She then takes a shot in the gut. Nice shot, Sid! Oh, no, wait, Sid's probably over there somewhere, morphed. Yeah, that's actually Kat, having made the trip back. She frees her son and the two reunite. However, Scorpina has the crystals and decides to see what happens when you make rainbow sprinkles out of them.
So you reckon that the rainbow sprinkles are the way forward with the donut?
Absolutely!
Anara apologizes for messing up JJ's case, but he says there are bigger concerns. Literally, as the bigger concern smacks Tommy aside and demands that he kneel. She knocks everyone back and grabs JJ, insisting that he will be sacrificed to Lokar. As she stomps off, Anara tells Tommy that the Master Morpher has one set of powers left. Tommy needs to morph and save JJ. But since Scorpina already has several Rangers and allies blasting her back and it doesn't seem to be helping, he has another idea. Tossing the Morpher to JJ. JJ catches the Morpher and morphs into the Green Ranger. Nice two-page spread as JJ starts beating the crud out of Monster Scorpina, and I guess some monster grunts that also were there. Lokar then arrives, wanting to know where his dinner is. Scorpina says JJ's there, she just needs a moment to catch him. Lokar isn't in a patient mood. He feels like his time has been wasted and pulls her into a portal back to Talos, promising when he comes back, it will be the end of this world. The Rangers clean up the grunts that were left. Anara says JJ was a natural Ranger, and he says he had a good role model, as the Oliver family reunites at last. A few weeks later, Tommy and Kat are on a boat.
Everybody look at me, 'cause I'm sailing on a boat.
JJ actually wants Tommy to stick around, offering to talk to SPD about a consulting job. He turns his son down, wanting to find a new adventure. He and Kat don't know what comes next, but they're just going to let it come. Anara asks if he'll miss the adventure, and while he says he's spent lots of time as a ranger, constantly returning to it, he thinks he's finally done. JJ points out that's literally true. He has no more powers. But Tommy finds this fitting, now knowing the world and the future are in good hands. Kat kind of checks in to make sure that SPD is still what JJ wants to do, but he says it is. It's now his turn to make the world a safer place. She tells him to call his mother now and then, huh? Mr. Police Officer's too busy to even call his mother? Anara hugs Tommy, grateful to have gotten to know a legend like him. He says the only reason he is a legend is that he's had wonderful partners. As the boat sails off somewhere, JJ gets a call on an SPD morpher. They are needed off-planet. JJ then morphs into the SPD Green Ranger with a little gift from his dad attached. The issue includes 3 pages of concept art and the entire first issue of MMPR as a preview of the Volume 1 anthology. I have to say, at first I was really tempted to treat this more like an episode. It more felt like one, listing my pros and cons and then explaining each of them. But that's not how I do things on a comically long review, so let's just talk about this. The story very obviously focuses on Tommy, and I do like this advancement of his character. This book was almost instantly called Old Man Tommy after Old Man Logan, the comic story that inspired the Wolverine movie, Logan. We see a Tommy that's weary not just of life as a ranger, but life in general. He's lost a lot of the control that he's used to having, being forced into retirement by his school, not being able to direct his son's life anymore, just being a voice in SPD's ear, and etc. I like the implication that there was a period of time where Tommy had the Master Morpher and was active as a ranger assisting SPD, most directly implied by his conversation with Skye, where they reminisced about a shared fight. His arc in this book is confidently charging in, feeling that he can solve everything by himself, nearly failing, and then realizing that he has friends and support that can help him save the day. On a surface level, it was neat seeing him spin through his powers one last time, especially Turbo, and yes, I'm still annoyed about that. When you show 4 suits out of 5, the omission is the one that's going to stand out, regardless of what it is. Other characters in the book aren't nearly as strongly characterized, though I think that's more than understandable. I like JJ, brash and headstrong, aka his father's son. JJ's arc is spoken by Tommy in the story, but never really acknowledged by JJ directly. The need to do something so risky and dangerous just to live up to his father's legacy. Another thing that isn't clearly stated in this is that I don't think JJ is a ranger until the end of the story. Getting his dad's shield was a nice touch, though Zordon knows how that actually works. Oh, speaking of that shield, let me reference back to that picture I mentioned earlier. Just before Soul of the Dragon's release, it was teased and marketed by a Christmas card from the SPD of the book's era, and it's a very interesting team. Bridge is still red, though he's wearing the Fire Squad armor from the Deca Ranger 10 Years Later movie. Sid and Z are still the pink and yellow Rangers. I'm not very fond of that, since I think when there's a team that has a number system, and 1 is acknowledged to be the leader, and 2 is acknowledged to be the second in command, we could logically assume that 3, 4, and 5 are ranks as well, and not just equal numbers that also happen to be there. So it's troubling that after this long, they haven't risen up to the ranks of 2 and 3 as the Blue and Green Rangers. That being said, who is the Blue Ranger? That would be one Lena Song. Some of you might be asking who that is. Lena Song is a character from Power Rangers Hyperforce, the tabletop RPG that was streamed on Twitch that we desperately need to get a second season of. She has a similar arc to JJ actually, at first just an officer, but the next time we see her, she's the SPD Green Ranger. Now, she has been promoted to Blue because yes, it is a promotion. And listen, I get what's going on here. Lena had to shift over to Blue, and Sid and Z had to keep their colors because JJ Oliver could only be the Green Ranger. That kind of locked him into place and made the rest of the team shift around or not shift around. Also, Sky, the team's commander, is not the Shadow Ranger. That does make sense to me, seeing as those powers had a personal connection to Doggy. No, Sky is a Deca Ranger. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Sky is the Deca Ranger, a red and black suit with an X on the chest for 10, since he's the 10th SPD Ranger, but also an arrow to tribute his dad, and I've already gone over all of this, so let's just move on. To be honest with you, I've never been terribly fond of the whole "I was undercover, you moron" line of storytelling, because it just seems like anyone that close to JJ should have been in on that. Yes, I understand the less people that know, the better, but his immediate family? I mean, at least give them some kind of excuse. JJ's going off on a mission to a faraway planet. He's going to be out of communication for a while. To just say that he quit SPD when that's entirely out of character for him, and then he disappeared, invites this very scenario. I really like Anara, no-nonsense girl, but who also has a sweet side. It's really cool that she's Boom's daughter, and still really sad that Boom seems to be dead. And again, since I'm assuming that Boom wouldn't just leave his family, since that seems out of character for him, that he died somehow. It's also kind of weird, despite the fact that we see her having a morpher at the end of the story, she's not one of the Rangers listed on the Christmas card. But maybe they just didn't want to spoil her character? I really do think that the Finster thing was a nice touch for this story. One of Shattered Grid's oddly heartwarming aspects was the true, genuine friendship between Lord Draken and Finster 5. So it was just really nice to see that those two would be such good friends while on the side of good as well. And after the mind-twisting story that was perfect, it's a nice cap end to Finster's character to see that his purification led to him appreciating truly beautiful art once again. Scorpina makes for a very interesting and unexpected villain for this story, though I find it fascinating that the greater canon of this story includes a Hyperforce character, yet the story offers an entirely different explanation than Hyperforce as to how Scorpina disappeared. Though thinking about it, even Hyperforce dealt with multiple iterations of Scorpina, so maybe that's what this is about. I really like a power-hungry Scorpina doing all she could to get stronger, taking far too big a risk without having victory secured. All in all, this is a very interesting story with a lot of great twists and turns. We get one last tour through all of Tommy's powers, he and Kat get a happy ending, and his son takes the stage as the newest Green Ranger, just like Daddy. Very satisfying. Soul of the Dragon gets a 4.5 out of 5. I played this review as a little bit of a surprise, but people have been asking me about both of these, so I feel like I should just lay my cards out. Yes, I have The Psychopath. Yes, I have read it. And yes, I'm going to review it. No, I don't know when that is going to be. To review something this big, I really need another gap in the reviewing schedule, and I don't know when that's going to happen. I will try to get this thing reviewed sooner rather than later. Oh, by the way, really quick, just to get this said, next week is going to be Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 44, another comically long review. And that is going to wrap up this amazingly comically longer than usual review. Thank you, heroes, so much for watching and sticking through the entire thing if you did. Now, in the comments below, what did you think of this story? The return focus of Tommy, one last run through all of his Ranger powers, Anara, JJ, Scorpina, etc., etc., etc. Let it all out down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to see all of my videos and ring that bell. Get your notifications set up so you'll be notified of whenever I post brand new videos such as these comically long reviews. By the way, forgot this, while you're down in the comments, smack the thumbs up button and let me know that you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to lend any financial support to my channel, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Head on over to patreon.com/OrangeRangerVideos. Check out my various tiers, levels of support, things you get back for that. Greatly appreciated. If you would instead like to do something that's not monthly, just whenever you really feel like it, you can buy me a coffee. I'm going to get the imaginary one this time. Imaginarily delicious. Set it down. Those are set at $3 a piece, and I greatly appreciate any support I find at either of those sites. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. He says he used to know them, but they've been holding him back. She found the crystal JJ crushed like a croissant. Finster's apartment is filled with beautiful sculptures, and he explains that Tommy, the Zeo powers Scorpina said nice 2-page spread as Tommy starts beating the that is actually JJ. Anara hugs Tommy, grateful for the chance to have gotten to know him. He says the only reason that and I've already been talking all about this, and it was beyond a fart. I already went over all of this, so let's just move on. Counting it. But offers an entirely different explanation as to how I played this review as a little bit of a surprise, but people have been and that is going to wrap up this amazingly longer than usual, comically long review. Yeah.